I'll start with the first question, like also to know like your experience. You are from different realities, from different countries, also like different, like in your case, Michał, from a youth country, from a small town, like here in the region. And my first question to you is like, how do you think that today young people in this region are involved in the policy-making process?
I think that we, as a young people, are involved in this process because we, as a young youth council, we are very close to local government. We talk with the mayor, with the people who decides by our town, and we can help them to make a good decision in the way of the idea to development of the green and blue growth as this thing. So I think that we are, as a young people, have a voice and have a power to implement some new ideas and talk with the local policy makers. And I saw that that is very good for that we have a voice. We can talk with the people, talk with the local policy makers, and they hear us. They don't treat us like the young people. They talking about something and we don't hear it. No, I think that it's very important that they hear what we're talking about.
And from your experience, Greta?
I would talk about ERB and Brita's ESC experience. I'm somehow involved in the Baltic Sea region from 2017. I was not a board member since last year, but I participated in the events and in the executive boards to say my opinion, to represent our projects. And I see good things and bad things in Baltic Sea cooperation regarding youth. So I'm starting with good points that ERB and BCCC networks formed my perception towards youth involvement, as too often politicians think that informing people or giving information is involvement of youth, but it is not. So ERB and BCCC networks gave me a perception how the youth can be involved and how it should be. And from the bad things, I think we are lacking mentorship and guidance, and also capacity building activities. Today I talked with a new member of ERB and networks, and we said that we are involved, but somehow we do not know what to do. So the networks lack guidance and mentorship, capacity building activities, I don't know, lectures, what we can do, and also maybe mentorship from the politicians, and like you guys can grow up future politicians of Baltic Sea region, and to make it more prosperous and a better place to live for you, your youth, and everybody.
Yeah, Greta said a lot of wise words. I am also part of the Euroregion Baltic Youth Board. I'm the chair currently. And the Euroregion Baltic Youth Board was created about 15 years ago, I think, with the idea that older people, you, no offense, you were there when the Berlin Wall fell. You know the importance of international cooperation and how it looks like when we don't foster our relations to each other, get to know each other, and learn about each other's cultures. And the Euroregion Baltic Youth Boards were created to actually also foster our youth into international cooperation. And that is one of the biggest whys to why we need youth participation, because we also need our youth to understand the importance and the benefits of actually working cross-national. But another good reason is also the long-term implementation of the projects that we do. if we want our project, a lot of them are for sustainable future, you know, like blue growth and green growth. And the persons who are actually being beneficial of this is the young people today. So if we want our projects to actually be good for our youth, we have to involve our youth from the start. And I think that's what we're working, all three of us, a lot today.
Yeah, and I think like you're working like in different ways, different levels, and that's like what we want to highlight also today. Like, what was your experience like in your activities in your organizations? And Greta, you said that there are good things and bad things. So, what were like, I don't know, the obstacles that you encountered during your activities, like dealing with stakeholders, and I mean also like the good sides, of course, like incentives to be more involved.
How much time do we have? Okay.
Pick a couple.
I would go for, I was involved in the European Youth Capital application process and developing it, and until 2020 I was involved in also implementation of it. So we have a lot of interactions with local politicians, international as well. I would say the main two obstacles is we have too much focus on infrastructural projects. I know the politicians wants to be re-elected, so it is much easier to show the results, like infrastructural ones, the roads we built, and the soft investments and soft measures are also good, but they show the results after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So you have to be patient with it, and you have to have courage to implement them and to start them. And also the second obstacle, I think that the perception of youth involvement are not the same in our countries, and politicians often think that, as I said, informing people is a way you are involving them, and which is not. Involvement is much better if you want to have a measurable results. And as an example, I can say that in 2020, the Klaipeda City Municipality developed a Klaipeda development strategy, and we saw that. We asked to involve us, to somehow to say our opinion, to offer our measures, to highlight the problems. So we did the workshop, and after we did it, we read it, and there was nothing. We talked. So it is a really bad example of youth involvement. If you need to get the results, if you want to talk with youth, you have to make a follow-up. What is being done? Where is information which we gave them? And trust me, these people who I invited in the workshop, we will not come again to a municipality, and we will not share the experiences and share the inputs on the projects because they are not involved. It's meaningful.
They get discouraged, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, so this was like more or less your experience. Like, do you think that is overall like in Lithuania, or mostly with your local administration?
We also have the good experiences as well.
Yeah.
But overall, yes, we do not understand what is real meaningful participation, and we are not working on that. I also can say one good example. Youth coordinator asked youth to come and to say what do you want in the skate park, and it was a bottom-up approach. So the people told what we want, and in 2018 it was built, and now youth are participating in the events, organizing events there, and it is very good experience.
So not everything is too bad, I guess. We also like the bright side. And what was your experience, Michał, like in the youth council of Iława? Like about like dealing with local municipalities, like about involvement, some obstacles that you met?
So it's one main obstacle. it's a fact that the authorities don't take young people so seriously. They hear us, but don't understand, I think. For example, it's we as a young people, as a youth council, have an idea, and the mayor take our idea, look on it, and say, okay, that's too futuristic and impossible to do. Go next one. And okay, but we can talk and discuss about the previous one. There is no next ones. We have to discuss and talk how to could possible to do this impossible, not impossible, but possible. I think that the discussion is the main tool to putting the ideas and implement it in our area. So that's the main obstacle. And I think that we have to do something to show the people that our ideas aren't too futuristic and impossible. We have to talk, to make a discussion about it, how to make it possible. Not talk about the next one. We have this idea and we have to work about it to do it, not think about the next ones.
If I may ask, what was this futuristic idea?
We are a small town, so we have a lot of places, and there next to train station is a good place. It was a park, and we talk about to make it green, to make it modern for people, and they think that it's a not good idea, and we do it by ourselves and make it totally not this way what we think, because our idea was too futuristic. It's green and blue development was too much for this. It was cheaper to make it in different way, you know.
Well, like, if this is too futuristic, I think we are not really ready for the future, bro. Next generation. And what about you, Johanna? What was, like, I don't know, some obstacles that you encountered during your activities, with some examples, and if you managed to deal with it, also, like, if you overcome it?
Well, I have three main obstacles that I think are important to talk about today, and the first one is that in Sweden, not in Lithuania and Poland, we don't have youth councils in the same way. It's something some cities have if they have like politicians that are that like youth, but it's not obligated. And when we have these, they often, like as you said, they come with ideas, but they're not really involved in the decision-making process. So the decisions that the politicians want to make, they don't pass the youth council if one is existing. The other obstacle I would like to lift up is that youth, when we are involved, are often involved too late into the process, when the priorities are already done and the hard work has already been put down. Then you ask youth, what do you think of this? And it's probably always too late in the process, because if youth don't like it or have other priorities, it's too late to change them. And the third one I would like to lift is that when youth actually is involved at a good stage and there has been some changes because of what youth said, there are almost never a follow-up. You don't get to know how our opinions changed the way you thought or the way you prioritized. And the follow-up is, of course, super important to encourage youth to keep on trying to affect the decision-making process.
So, like, they just ask your opinion after the job is done, says.
Yeah, they ask their opinion, and sometimes they also listen to it, but then we don't know if they actually did listen or did change anything. So that's also important, that you tell youth how their opinions affected your work.
Yeah, also because, I mean, like, the things that stakeholders do should be, like, for the next generation. So, like like then if there are some problems or things that are not considered, like we should be like the one that have to fix them, like. And also the case that in Sweden there are no youth council, like which makes already like a difference, like in the region, let's say, like how youth is involved in which levels.
Yeah, and
it's not homogeneous.
On the panel yesterday, we talked a lot about it's not only Sweden who teaches Poland, for example. It's a more two-way street, and I think here is a perfect example of where Poland can actually teach Sweden something, and how you do your youth councils and how you make them work, and how we can make it also work in Sweden.
Yeah. I think it's also like the idea of the events, like exchanging the ideas and also sharing experience and the way to live the society, like in the transboundary region. And yeah, I will move to the next question that's actually about this, like how do you think that Interreg, like I don't know, this program, Interreg South Baltic in this case, can actually make a difference in this way? Like we said that, I mean, it can involve young people, but at the same time brings like incentives and to make, I don't know, like the region more equal in a way. I don't know, let's start from Johanna.
Yeah, but I think it's important to involve youth like at the beginning of prioritizing. I think that if youth were to be a part of the deciding process, maybe youth policy making or youth involvement would be one of the prioritized areas in the Interreg. And I think that maybe it should be so that we can organize better ways of youth participation, because right now in the like transnational, international level, we are a few very like engaged youth, but we don't have like the grassroots level, and we need some capacity building, I think, to actually have good youth participation in the decision-making process. So I think like for maybe the next project period, that would be a good decision to do, to actually make youth involvement a priority.
Well, like the program is just started, so like maybe in the other 7 years.
It will be like 2028.
But so like even during like the 7 years, like what you wish you could see in the Interreg, like I don't know, some projects, like some ideas that can.
Yeah, I think like capacity building for youth involvement and youth participation is something that we really need, because now it's like a few people and we are very engaged, but we need to be more. Who actually care about these questions and want to affect the policy makers. So that is something like maybe how can Sweden build up a structure with the youth councils? That could be a good project idea. Yeah. Maybe I will run it.
What's your opinion, Greta? Like, what do you think that transboundary cooperation can improve? I mean, from your experience, like. What do you see that is missing, and if Interreg can fill this gap?
I have a couple of points. I think, first of all, ERB, BSC, all the networks, Interreg, can make a communication campaign. What is the networks, what we are doing, so that young people can understand what we are doing. Because since this year, I think I didn't know any people from Klaipeda region who knows about your region Baltic, BSC networks, like Interreg. So together with Association Klaipeda region, we made a project to make it happen, to make people more engaged into Baltics region as well as Klaipeda region. Klaipeda region unites 7 municipalities, and so far, like Klaipeda city represented everywhere. Youth rights and youth questions. So we are having a project to involve these 7 municipalities, and so communication is one point. The second point, maybe a program to make a participation in a Baltic Sea region networks a prestige. to have a program with mentorship, with guidance, with capacity building activities, to know what is the region, what are the problems, what are the directions we can go, because we can now grow ourselves Baltic Sea region politicians, and to make them aware what is the Baltic Sea region. So if they are engaged now, we will be a good politicians. We will know how to build the region, how to make it more prosperous. So I think these two are the main.
From your experience, Michał, like, now you are not part anymore of the Iława Youth Council, like, but in your current work, like, what do you see that Interreg can have an impact?
I think that the Interreg South Baltic Programme is a good, especially for a youth council. So this is an example. When I was in the youth council 2 years ago, I was in Denmark, in small municipality next to Copenhagen, and there I saw a place for young people when they can meet and do good things together. And I told about it my colleagues from Youth Council Iława, and now it's our main goal to make this place like this in our small town. Look, young people from small town in Poland was inspired by young people from small town in Denmark. So it's very good thing. I think it's important to discuss by Interreg with other countries, like from Sweden, from Lithuania, from Denmark, to make new experiences and to know the issues and obstacles of their problems and make to solve it together and make new ideas and teach ourselves about the things to make good things in future.
What was in particular this thing in Denmark?
It was South Baltic Young Core Group Network Program.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's also about this, you know, like, we saw that there are something missing in one country that maybe this gap can be filled with our experience from another country, and also for its diversity, the South Baltic region can, you know, bring homogeneous idea for everyone, I guess. And but now I would like to ask the audience if you had questions, like, to the participants about their experience, or I don't know, like, some ideas.
There's some questions.
Yeah. From my right to the left.
I have a question. I would like to hear whether you have some good advice. I would like to hear whether you have some good advice for. One thing is involving youth, but at some point, those who were involved, they get on with their lives. They grow older. They are not longer the young ones, and usually, a lot of the things that we do in these programs takes time. It takes a lot of time before we can see the things being implemented in reality. So usually, those we involve, it's not even for them that we develop things. Those of the young we involve, usually it's for those who are 5 years younger than them that will have the benefit. What do we do? Do we have any good experiences, advice, how we tackle this?
Well, I would like to lift up a good project that we did in the Euroregion Baltic. That was called the Kasiput project. That we actually made a survey for a lot of youth in the schools, like every youth in that specific age. And then we actually didn't just get the voice of like Greta and me, who are like engaged and like privileged in that way. We got the voice of every youth and what they expected of life, what their mental health status was, what they thought they could fulfill their dreams in their hometown or not. And like, you actually get the voice for a lot of youth. And then the other aspect is like, as I think you are talking about, that we get a place at the table, and that is great. But sometimes, like, it's a lot of work to be that person at the table, and you don't really get valued. You get to sit at the table, but you don't get the support, maybe monetary, or you don't get the support from a civil servant, as like politicians get. So actually also value the work of the young person who sits at the table, so that they will feel like, when I leave this room, I have like 10 people who want to have this place, and that can replace me, and then I can keep contact with. So actually value the person that's sitting at the table and their opinion. So I think that will, because we know this as well, Greta and me, like when we leave, there's not like 10 people in a row. It's like we have to like lift someone up, and if we find some, so like make it valuable, because then people will be standing in a row.
You want to add something, Greta?
Yeah, as I said, I think the mentorship program, would be nice to have and make a participation, as Johanna said, a prestige, so people will stand in the line, and also to involve as many young people as you can in your own regions. What we are trying to do is to have a youth hub. So we are discussing, we are trying to make changes in our region, and also to discuss it in the Baltic Sea region level. So to start as early as you can, and to involve as many people as you can, and also to make them aware what is happening in the Baltic Sea region. What is it? What do we need? What are the directions? And also to communicate with local politicians and to Baltic Sea region politicians, and to have a discussion with them.
You don't want to add something, right? No. So we have another question, I think.
Yeah, thanks. First and foremost, thank you for participating. I think it means a lot to all of us. And even though I wasn't there when the wall fell, I mean, I still consider myself young, I guess, in your term. I can still see some sort of, how to say it, struggle you're having. You're even describing it yourself, that not being taken seriously enough in your position, even though you're representatives. So my question is, since I'm also part of the youth here in the EU program, what is your motivation to keep on going? Because at some point, as Thomas said, you have to leave that group, or that group age in the program. And how do you keep motivating yourself? What is the primary motivator for you?
Want to answer?
Yeah, I can start. I hope all three of us can answer. Well, of course, the motivation is that we see the benefits of actually working cross-nationally, and how much it actually will help us in the future. We will get a lot of amazing contacts and a lot of knowledge, but we also see that we can create a better future for our generation, and that is a big motivation. But just as any other profession, motivation is never enough. You also need to feel valued, get follow-up, that people actually see your worth, and I think that is an important lesson to send.
Okay, my motivation is I care about our region and the Baltic Sea region. I want to be prosperous, and I think that the networks like this are a great example of youth involvement, and we can share our experiences and to build our regions, to make it be prosperous, and to make young people believe that we can do something in our region. We are not a small country like Lithuania, which is nobody cares about that. So the Baltic Sea region is an example how to involve youth, and how to build trust in the region, and how to build your own city, your own region, and the Baltic Sea region as a whole.
Yeah, so we are talking about involvement and motivation. So I want to say that young people very quickly catch new ideas, and they are involved, but I think the main problem is to maintain this involved. how long they are motivated to make something, and how many years, how many months, and how much the idea is good for us to make it, to be motivated to do it. Because a lot of ideas are forgotten. We don't remember about it, it's blow up. And the main problem is to maintain the involvement, and we have to try to do the best for this, to be motivated as long as we can.
And what's your personal motivation?
Personal motivation is very similar to Greta's motivation, so to care about my town and the area where I live.
Any other questions? No?
Hi. You say a lot about your motivation, which is really important for us. And now after this first day of the Interreg South Baltic conference, do you see your future in organizations like we are, like we represent? Because we want you to be involved in what we do, but not only now, but for future also. So do you think that young people that you are meeting with, you are dealing with, are more focused on here now and later on I leave this region, or you want to work with this region, with organizations like us?
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, personally, I love this context, but I think one of the biggest problem is, as Greta mentioned before, is like communication. In my age group, we don't really know about this, except what I told my friends. And we have a big work to do to actually spread knowledge about international cooperation in the Baltic Sea region, because we all three live in rural areas, and as you could also see in the Kasipot project, the youth think that we don't have a future in our own region, and that creates a brain drain, and that is like a big danger for Interreg program and Euroregion Baltic and all of these things. So I think it's important to spread knowledge and also make sure that these jobs stay in our region, so we can keep on this amazing work.
And I also think that these kind of networks and conferences where we are getting to know each other, they are also impacting our security in the region, because we know each other, we know that somebody are not Nazis, as Russians said to Ukrainians, so we know each other, we are aware what people are you, what are your thoughts about the region. So it also impacts our security, and I think it's really important to build these networks, to communicate with each other, and to make aware what is happening in the region.
Yeah, it's so important to me to take in part in programs like Interreg South Baltic, because of the experience and the new view of something on some things, and of course the main goal is to make a future better than now. So we try to do everything to make the future better from youth, but for everyone. Not only youth, the old people and everyone. So I think that if we now participate and talk about some problems, some ideas, and something like this, in future we can make something together, make something good for our region, from South Baltic, not only for Poland, for Lithuania, for Sweden, but for all South Baltic, because the program connect us, and we together can make something good in the future.
So like the general idea is also like to create, let's say, a network to be together and better, like to improve like ourselves, like in the region, in a more prosperous way, but together, like not to be close in the like work for the local like in the local areas where we live, but still like in a wider network, let's say. So, is there any other question from the audience?
Everyone wants coffee.
Yeah, I guess so. So I think that if we don't have any other questions, we can close the session a bit earlier. Give also more time for checking out and coffee break, I guess.
I can just add like one last
Yeah,
thing.
please.
Yeah, I feel like we have been like complaining a bit, but it's just like we are.
It's our moment to complain. So.
We care about the
Take the
region.
floor.
We care about this, and we care about the South Baltic and the Baltic Sea region, and we just want to send with you all of our like ideas and what obstacles we have met. But like we think it's so amazing that we get to sit here today and tell you all about this whole hour. So thank you so much for inviting us, and I hope you have a beautiful day.
Thank you for coming. Like.